Hey, welcome back to the Charlie Bahama show here in London with all our Bahamian creatives and folks just doing big things over here and around the world. And now I am here with a fashion designer, but I don't know because it started in art. So we can hear this story. This is Traiceline Pratt. But you say everybody calls you Trace?
Yeah, Trey.
Trey?
Yeah, everybody back home call me Trey.
But that name Traiceline is cool. I mean, for a designer, that's already like the brand or the label name. But how'd that name come about, Traiceline?
Yeah, I mean, the name really came about with my parents just having a small dispute. So my old lady, she have three boys, and she just really wanted a girl. By the time it was my turn, and she was hoping for a girl. The doctor actually told her like it was a girl who was coming, and she was obsessed with Celine Dion as well. So she had this set that she would have a girl and she'd name her Celine. And when I came out, like, it wasn't a girl, it was a boy. And then my old man was like, "Ain't no way I name my son
Celine."
you know what I mean? So like he wanted to name me Trey, and then she still wanted the Celine. So then they just decided to, you know what, like just put it together, and then that's my name.
Traiceline.
Yeah.
Hey, that's how Bahamians used to name from
Yeah.
way back. You know, it's either
Yeah,
the father and the mom. They just put the name together. So that's good. But that's a cool name.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, cool name. Now, like I said in the beginning, you know, fashion. You're in fashion design, but talking to you before we went on, it's not just fashion. It's just creative.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the road to fashion start for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I started off in doing fine art. So both my parents, they're in the creative industry. My father and my mother, both of them do visual display and window display. They've been decorating John Bull for like, more than 30 years now.
Wow. And John Bull on point, so they're doing a good job.
So they're the ones that decorate John Bull for more than 30 years now. So it was always in my family just to like be creative. My dad, he's an artist as well, so he has his own practice in terms of like painting and drawing.
And what's his name?
His name is Livingstone Pratt.
That's right.
So like he's had well-established artist in the Bahamas. And then I went to school in America to study fine art. I was on a track and field scholarship that I went to America to run track and field at North Dakota State University. From there, I did my bachelor's degree in fine art. And then I think like coming down to the end of the degree, I just told myself like, I did everything that I wanted to do in art, and it was just a bit of like a shift. But I think now that I'm older, I think I realized that it wasn't the fact that I did everything that I set out to do in art. I think art became so natural to me, and on top of that, I just didn't want to be the same thing my father was. You know what I mean? So I was like, listen, like, it's a switch, you know. So I literally just talked to my professor at the time. Her name is Dr. Ann Bratton, and I talked to her and I asked her, you know, like where should I go? And then she was like, okay, if you don't want to stay in art anymore, I think the next best thing was fashion. And I realized as well, it's like I had this saying in my head like, not everybody has a Picasso in their house, but everybody has a T-shirt. You know what I mean? So it's like that type of thinking that I had, and so I guess I did what I would do, and I just went on Google and I typed up best fashion schools in the world, and like the school Central St. Martin's came up, and I applied with like this art portfolio, just a bunch of paintings, and then like a 40-page manifesto, just like telling, I guess, like professing what I think the creative world should look like and how people should like approach creativity. And I applied, and I didn't get in. You know what I mean? Because like, I didn't get in, and that was heartbreaking for me. But just tried to figure out like, okay, like what's the next best thing for me? And then the school was offering a short course and to like understand the entry level into fashion, very like quick couple month short course. So I applied for the short course, and I went in. I got into the short course, but then first thing I did when I came to London for the short course was I went to St. Raymond's MA, and I walked up to the MA program, and I like asked to speak to the head of the course, and I was like, I was like, listen, like I applied for the course, and like you guys didn't accept me, like you guys made a mistake, and he was like, well, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Who knows? You didn't get in, so like life goes on, and like me and him had like an hour conversation, like an hour long conversation after that. And like he literally told me he remembered my portfolio. And he's like, what do you think this is? Like you submitted like a bunch of paintings, you know what I mean? But he's like, what was really interesting is like that manifesto. He said, I read that. He said, he said, you have a very interesting way of thinking. He's like, how about you apply for a graduate diploma, which is like a course in between bachelor's degree and the bachelor's degree in MA, for people who necessarily don't have the background of like fashion,
Right.
who wants to get into MA, and then you do that, build a portfolio, and then reapply. And he's like, I was like, okay, cool. And then I walked out of the room at the time, and I told him, like, last thing I told him was like you'll see me soon. And yeah, and like that's kind of like the start of it. And I mean, obviously, as we go through this interview, like I guess you'll get more to me of like the journey of like that.
Yeah, because it seems to be a thing with you is like, and it's that innate chutzpah you have, right? Is like, that's what I want, I'm gonna get it, right? Because then from there, you told me the story going into the club and running into,
Virgil Abloh, yeah.
I mean, and for those people out there, Virgil is now past now, but
Yeah, so I mean, Virgil Abloh, he was for years, obviously, he was like the creative director of Kanye's like Kanye's old image, you know what I mean? So his like Yeezy, Donda, and then like after years of being that, Virgil kind of just drifted and just started Off-White. And once he started Off-White, like Off-White became like this cult, like this cult like clothing brand, and then fashion really couldn't deny what he was doing, like his presence. So they did what they did, and they offered him the creative director job at Louis Vuitton. And yeah, like I guess like that's Virgil. And I guess like what we're seeing now in fashion in terms of like just this youthfulness of like clothing, and like this more everyday stylistic approach to clothing. Like me personally, I don't know if anybody else would agree, but me personally, like guys like Virgil and then Kanye and then like Martine Rose, like these are like the starters, like Kim Jones as well. Like these guys are the foundation of like what we're seeing fashion is now.
Right.
Because fashion is very elitist, like everything was about couture dresses and like these very like high standard clothing
Right.
that became elitist, you know what I mean, and very like exclusive. Scarcity is fashion's like biggest provider, but then like these guys came in and they kind of just like say, hey, listen, like we want to be a part of this too, but seeing that you guys don't want us a part of this, we're gonna make some clothes, and then we're gonna throw a party, and then we're gonna basically bring a community together, and then the community is gonna uplift us,
Right.
and then you guys have no other choice but to accept
Right.
us.
Now, but so that's Virgil. I ain't hear about Virgil no more. But now you know how big Virgil was. So that's why when I tell you the chutzpah, because you run into this man who is up here and
Yeah, like I ran him into this club called Fabric. It was like Virgil, some rappers, and then like these two DJs, Benji B and Judah, who became like very big mentors of mine throughout this whole process. But like I ran into Virgil into the club, and like I tapped him on the shoulder, like this, like I'm 5'9", and this guy like 6'3", 6'2", something like that. Tapped him, and I was like, hey, listen, like I'm gonna be the next big thing in fashion. Like you need me. And he's just like looking at me like, okay, like okay, cool, yeah, like good man. But it's like he was going to start DJing as well, because he's a DJ. So it's like I don't like what conversation are we having in the middle of the club right now, And mind you, I had no like I just came from art. I didn't even have a portfolio. I didn't even sew a garment as yet. So it's like who am I to like say that? But like that's just how I felt at the moment. So I felt that I should have said that to him.
Well, this is the thing. Like you said, your manifesto. Like I almost just meeting you, because I just met you a little while ago, right? But meeting you and listening to you with the manifesto and the way you go up to people, you have it in here. I think you're bigger than fashion, right? Like you're creative. So you could almost go into any creative genre and just say, hey, I'm the next big thing, right? Because, you know, clothing is creative. You design, I mean, and you know, we come from the Bahamas. Bahamian seamstresses, they could sew good, right? They might not have the creativity, but they could sew on point, right? So it's the creative part that you know is the seed per se, and what you have. Now you go to St. Martin, the masters, right? To get your so how did that you know happen? Because and also if you want, thank some people along the way, because it took a lot more than just your chutzpah to get you there. Also, you know, it's financially daunting.
Yeah. So I mean, getting into St. Martin's was like this challenge, you know, because like now I ran with these guys for like basically a year, and then came back to London. But before coming back to London, before like actually properly getting into St. Martin's, like I got in, but then COVID hit. And then I couldn't go because I was like, you know, what sense going to a fashion school and you have to do it online? So I was like, I'll wait. COVID passed, I reapplied, and then they remembered my portfolio, so I didn't even have to like submit my portfolio into the graduate diploma. So now, like, I'm very like optimistic, you know, like I applied for the school, like I don't know where this money coming from, you know, but I was like, listen, like the first step is just getting into the school. So got into the school. And then, like I said, my parents, they do visual display and like, you know, all these window display and stuff like that. They were doing work at a very well-respected family in the Bahamas. And then, but I'll say who they are, but like I'll start off with that. But then like I was doing the work, and then the wife of this very respected family, she just got interested in me, and she started asking me about my life and stuff like that. I started explaining to her. I started explaining in terms of like the master's program. I'm the first Bahamian to like get into the master's program. The program is like acceptance rate of 2%. You know what I mean? Like, and the program has birthed like basically the biggest fashion designers, you know, in the industry. And she was very interested about that. And then I told her, I was like, listen, but like, you know, like I'm not sure I could go because like I'm still trying to find the money, you know what I mean? And she was like, okay, cool. And this lady her name is Lady Sharon Wilson. And and she was like, okay, no problem. And she's like, anyway, nice talking to you. And then she just like went on about her business, you know? And like the next day she called my mother and she's like, hey, could you send Trey back to the house? Like, I'd like to speak with him. Went back to the house, and she's like, oh, like, my husband would love to have a conversation with you. And she's like, he'll come out and speak to you, you know. And like I've only seen pictures of Sir Franklin, you know what I mean? And like growing up as a kid, like you kind of like him. I started to think like he was like this like mystical like Chichani or something. Cause like I've never seen him before. Like you just always like
maybe from my interest.
Yeah, you just always like hear about him in the news and hear about like his accolades and stuff, but I've never seen him in person. So now it's like I see this like tall guy just walking from the stairs.
He could be a model for
for
fashion.
He could be a model, you know? And like he just literally sat down and he said, listen, like my wife spoke very highly about you. Like the conversation was very short. He's like, how much money do you need? And I was like, huh?
So they made sure you were able to concentrate on
school,
creativity, and getting good.
Yes.
You know, getting it, and so, you know, that's commendable.
But I'll also love to say as well is that like somebody as well who I have to speak highly about is Antonius Roberts. Reason why is because Mr. Roberts has also contributed to my educational life in fashion because him and the Charitable Arts Foundation, they have apart from obviously Sir Franklin has donated Sir Franklin the bulk of it, but like Mr. Roberts and the Child Art Foundation has done everything they could and as much as they could to help with my fees and stuff as well. So that is somebody who I have to also say thank you to as well, because like he's somebody who, even my father, somebody who has like championed my father over the years, yes, Mr. Antonius Roberts, like, and what he's doing for like the art community in the Bahamas and the youth is like commendable. So like, yes, hats off to Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's people like that the next generation, because then, you'll be expected to pay it back too. But I think just from meeting you, the underlying thread with you is because everybody meets you, and whatever you say or they feel that passion, they see you're able to show them, the creative future from the start, right? Virgil, getting into CSM, and then Lady Wilson, right? You just drew them in, and because people don't, I'm sure they get hit up by a lot, but they could see it in you, that spark. So that's something. So we know your line and whatever you do is going to be big. So you have already the name of your line and everything that you go with? Or?
So I just decided to like take myself out of the working 9-to-5 industry fashion, because I think I paid my dues for like for a starter as for right now, and I decided that I just want to like be able to dictate how my fashion career goes. So I started my brand. It's called Goya Goma.
Now is this an exclusive now?
Yeah.
Let's just say that this is an exclusive.
So yeah.
And what does that mean?
So it's just a part of like my transition from art to fashion. So somebody who I really had tremendous amount of respect for in art was Francisco Goya, right? And then when I first started to learn about fashion, the first person I learned about was this guy called Michael Goma. So he was the first creative director of Balenciaga after Balenciaga himself, you know? And so like I just took the two last names of those people and just put it together, which was the transition between art into fashion.
Right, great.
It's called like Goya Goma.
Very good. Now I know you already said what you did. You said you've done your dues. So let's tell the people some of the names and some of the people you worked for these dues, because some nice names.
Yeah.
Let's do some name dropping.
So I mean, some names I can't mention because NDA, but like some of the most respectable names, obviously Samuel Ross from A Cold Wall, Virgil Abloh, Phoebe Philo. Phoebe Philo, she was the creative director of Celine. So I mean, like, I'll say this as well, like, Phoebe, so much respect for her, because I think a lot of people who are not into fashion, they might not know it, but like she is the turning point of like fashion, right? Because before her, it was like fashion was either like very high, which is couture, or like when it comes to ready to wear, it was very like sexual, like you had like Tom Ford and like YSL and stuff like that, like kind of like skin tight clothing, a lot of cleavage. And then, Phoebe came into the picture, and then you kind of see like, women wearing trench coats and like, denim jeans and like trainers, like, the Adidas Stan Smith, like she kind of like put those shoes on trend. So like, because of her, birth brands like Cause, H&M, like all these, like the kind of like minimal aesthetic of like women's wear. So before her, it wasn't any Cause, it wasn't any Arcade, it wasn't any like women wearing these very like baggy, loose-fitting wool trousers, trench coats and like, cardigans and stuff like that. Like they're very relaxed. It isn't about showing their body. It's just kind of like showing comfortability. Like she kind of like put that on the map for women, because she came in a time in fashion where everybody was like sexualizing women.
Right.
But then she did that at Celine, and then obviously I had the opportunity to like, work under her, meet her, have conversations with her. But I mean, apart from that, like after I graduated CSM, you know, offers started flooding in. Bottega, Loewe, Louis Vuitton, you know, all these guys like wanted me to come there, but I decided to go to Phoebe because I think I built like a life in London, and I just didn't want to leave.
Right.
And so yeah.
But also, folks have worn your clothes too.
Yeah, folks have worn my clothes. Fashion brands have stolen my ideas. We're not
But
gonna
I saw you posted. I mean, I assume we could say it ASAP.
Yeah. So like ASAP wore something from the new collection that's coming up soon. My relationship with that came about through his stylist. So his stylist, Matthew Henson, guys literally become like an older brother for me.
Oh, good.
He saw my work through social media, and he just reached out to me. And Matthew is like the guy in like fashion for styling right now, you know. So he's like the stylist for Louis Vuitton as well, and reached out to me and is like, hey, like, really huge fan of your work. And it didn't start off like, oh, like, could you do something for me? It started off like he was just saying, really like your work, you know what I mean? And then from there, me and him just like kind of like became like good friends, you know, like just like kind of like texting, hanging out and stuff like that. And then he's like, hey, like, would you want to do like a project with me? And I was like, okay, cool. And then he's like, let me see what you have. And just like, you know, so I just made some stuff and I showed him it. And he was like, okay, let me get that, and that. And he paid for it, like,
Whoa.
you know, paid for everything. And I was like, okay, cool. And then next thing you know, like, my mother called me and she's like, that jacket that you like, the jacket that you showed me, she's like, I saw like ASAP Rocky wearing it. And I was like, really? I was like, what? And so like when everybody found out about the jacket, I found out about it as well. Like, I didn't know who it was for. You know what I mean? I knew Matthew like style ASAP, but I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know.
And you know what I mean? So
That's a great surprise.
yeah, so it was good. And then like we made like some other stuff as well. Like there was a full look that he obviously wore a full look to the show, but then there's also like a full look that I made that was supposed to be for the Met, that for him wearing at the Met, but like, you know, Anna Wintour chooses what people wear at the Met, and I guess like I think at the time she just wanted ASAP to wear his own clothes that he made and stuff like that, because he has a brand as well. So, but yeah, like me and Matthew, we have a really good relationship, man. Like and we still like work together closely. I literally just was talking to him before you came. So
I mean, that says a lot, because when somebody else has their own brand and then they wearing your stuff, that says a lot. So, well, I think this is just the beginning. I'm lucky I got in here when I did, you know, because you wouldn't have time for me anymore. But also before we have to say because Pamela Burnside was the one who said, you going to London, you gotta interview Traiceline. And Pamela, because she went to Central St. Martin. Yeah, I don't know if it was Central St. Martin at the time. She was like the first.
When Kassan and I spoke, she went to, the school is now called Central St. Martin's because it's converted with University of Art London. But when she went there, it's just called St. Martin's School of Art. And that's when the school was like on its own. You know, and the school didn't even have a master's program at the time. Like it just had the BA program. And so she literally was the first Bahamian to go to such a prestigious school, you know, and so that's like a huge I have to commend on that, to be in like, you know, a school that literally is like they champion the best of the best in terms of the fashion industry. So like she was the first Bahamian to go into the school, and then I was lucky enough to be the second Bahamian to go to school, but the first in the master's program. And the master's program has like once the master's program came about, I think the master's came about like sometime in like the 80s or something. The master's program came about, and the master's program is kind of like what set the school off in terms of like international acclaim, because Alexander McQueen, you know, like the school literally calls him like the genesis of the school, because, you know, he came into the school and he kind of just he came into the master's program and he kind of just put the school on like a different level, you know? But Miss Burnside, hats off to them. She's definitely,
she is an icon in Bahamian culture, creativity, and everything like that. So before we wrap that up. I had to drop that in there, or she might give me one little back slap. I can't. That's who I look up to as well. So, well, Traiceline, congratulations to you.
Appreciate that,
And hopefully, like another reason I'm over here, my daughter's going to CSM. So hopefully, she'll
Congrats
follow.
as well.
So her listening to you, it's the chutzpah. You just got to go for it, because that's what I'm seeing from you and everybody out there. Go for it.
I'll say this to your daughter as well. Like, CSM isn't, the difference between Saint Mons and any other fashion school is those fashion schools are like, first of all, Saint Mons is an art school. It's not fashion. You know what I mean? Those other fashion schools, they kind of teach you how to sew and stuff like that. Saint Mons isn't about that. It's a way of thinking. You know what I mean? Because anybody can learn how to sew, anybody can learn how to pattern cut, but you can't learn how to think. You can't learn how to properly execute and think creatively. That's why when you go into the fashion industry, 90% of the fashion industry is from Central St. Martin's. 90% of the fashion industry. I know this because even HR, HR, some of the biggest brands, they say they have a pile of portfolios from schools and then a pile of portfolio from Central St. Martin's. They have two piles. They separate Central St. Martin's from the rest of the world. And that's how it is. So having that on your resume straight up just puts you in a different category from everybody else. So congrats to her, and just make the best of it and absorb the thinking. Everything else you can learn the rest of these stuff on your own. It's the thinking that matters.
All right, so I think after this one, me and you, we just gonna go for a drink and we keep talking, because this is mine.
They ain't got no calico over here, but you can find something.
we'll get a Guinness, we'll get a Guinness on top. So anyway, more Charlie Bahama from London. If you want more Charlie Bahama, go to any of our social media pages or subscribe to the Charlie Bahama YouTube page.